This next story is about a man and his determination to build a successful business in the road transport industry. Ken Easter started his business back in 1976 and 40 years later is still going strong with a fleet of 70 trucks and a workforce of 110. A family-owned and operated business, KS Easter Haulage is without a doubt one of Australia's success stories in this challenging industry known as road transport. I'm here with Ken Easter, Managing Director of KS Easter Haulage. I asked him where it all began.
I recall when my father was an owner-driver and he'd come home of an afternoon, probably when I was about 5-year-old, and drive in the drive, and I'd step on the running board of his truck and ride up the driveway, and that's pretty well where that sort of thing started, and the longer that happened, and as I got to worship the ground my father walked on and the trucks, that was just always going to be the case. The first truck that I bought belonged to a very good friend of my father's that was killed in a car accident, and I purchased a G88 Volvo bogie drive with a tri-axle tipper on it, with a single axle pusher. That was my first truck. I had a flat top one for all, running interstate to Townsville, numerous other things. I got into the refrigerated freight business and time-sensitive freight business. Most of that was running between Sydney and Brisbane. So to make life easier, I needed to be at one end or the other. I don't particularly like Sydney as a place. Brisbane had a lot going for it. My wife and young family didn't want to move to Brisbane, but in the end they did, and they're ever so thankful these days. So it was just inconvenient to be servicing trucks in the middle of the week and doing other things in Newcastle, so I chose to move to Brisbane and haven't looked back.
JJ and Matt are two of Ken's sons and have grown up in the family business.
It's just in your blood, and seeing what your dad does and seeing what the whole family was in transport over the years, and it's just what I've known and just what I've grown up with a passion for with trucks.
Our transport industry is an ever-changing environment with compliance and OH&S playing a major role in the day-to-day operations of transport companies.
The challenges that my father has had over the years are different to challenges that we face now and going forward. Compliance and evolution into the future is our biggest challenge, I feel.
When I was a kid, I'd get in the truck with my old man and go to wherever he was going, and he showed me how to drive a truck, load a trailer, unhook it, wash it, grease it, change brakes, whatever. You can't do that now. I've got 3 sons that aren't allowed to come here and walk around the yard with me and work in the workshop or get in a truck or whatever because they're just not allowed to do that. How do they learn?
And I think that's one of the things that's making it hard these days for people to come into the industry, because kids don't get to grow up around dad with trucks. They're coming out of school to try and get into trucks. And because of OH&S and compliance and business these days, where you can't take your kids to work, you can't take your kids in your truck. Kids don't grow up with that passion of heavy vehicles and being around big machinery and trucks, whether it be trucks or forklifts or loaders or machinery. They don't get to do that now.
For any business to be successful, they need good equipment. So I asked Ken what factors he considers when purchasing his trucks.
I have a preference for American equipment. Mind you, we run a percentage of a European fleet. I'm not opposed to that. We understand American equipment. For the 2 different brands of American trucks that we use, they have a lot of common parts. We do our own repairs, servicing, tyre fitting, everything here. Some of it comes down to my preference. Service intervals and service on the eastern seaboard especially doesn't always come down to my likes, often does, but whole of life and ease of rebuild or repair parts, on-road service.
TruckSafe has been a part of the industry for the past 20 years and is based on a set of minimum standards a transport business should meet for it to be a safe, responsible operation.
We're self-regulated, so we don't have to present our trucks for inspection, but we have our own brake testing and shaker machine here, the same as the authorities we have. We have our own hoist here. We have a good record in that area.
The strict maintenance program implemented by Easters sees the trucks and trailers over the shaker and brake test machine every service. This, along with computer downloads and other compliance-related measures, ensures their commitment to road safety.
Because of chain of responsibility, everyone needs to make sure they're doing their part to make sure everything's okay and everyone's covered.
Fatigue management is one of the key areas that provides challenges to the road transport industry. More discussion between authorities and industry is needed to allow some flexibility. This would cater for unplanned delays, such as serious road traffic events.
I truly don't know how our on-road officers understand it, because we study it all the time, and we have very, very strong dialogue with some of the guys here that argue black and blue that they're right and wrong in their book. The system is very, very difficult to understand. The 14-hour thing works well for us. There's still not enough leeway in it. The other day we had a problem where there were 2 major accidents on the Pacific Highway, several hundred kilometres apart. We happen to have 13 trucks held up there, one way or the other. The problem being, while the trucks were there for 6 or 7 hours, they kept moving up, so they couldn't fill in a rest period. Then we had 4 trucks that got as far as Chindra and around that area, so then we had to run a car down there. They're half hour, 45 minutes from home, and they can't go any further because they're out of time on their book because of the road accident. Same with trucks going into Sydney. That makes up life expensive and difficult. So there needs to be a little bit more leeway, but in general the 14-hour thing works for us. The Sydney-Brisbane leg is the longest overnight, most difficult leg for time-sensitive stuff with one driver. So it doesn't take much for something to go wrong.
All the stuff that we do is nighttime driving. It's time-sensitive, so we must ensure that our drivers, when they're on their breaks, are sleeping.
It just amuses me when we come on competition with some other people in some other areas that don't have the degree of compliance that we have, which doesn't make it quite a fair playing field. It takes a lot of explaining to customers why we have a rate that's maybe a little higher than some others, but if they want us to prove compliance, and we are audited by our biggest customers at least twice a year. We're audited by WA Transport, we're audited by Queensland Transport Department. You just have to have it. The more difficult they make it, the better it makes us look. I hope it stays that way.
It has been a long road for Ken to get to where he is today, and it hasn't been without its twists and turns and even a few potholes along the way. But this year, Ken is celebrating his 40th year in business.
I've seen the good times, I've seen the bad times. It's been a roller coaster, but he's never given up.
You need to be really committed. You need to be really enthusiastic, and you need to keep that up for a long time. Be aware that it's going to have an effect on your family for a long, long time. If you're going to be committed, and you need to be committed, it will be all-consuming for a long way. But it can be very rewarding. If you make your choice, it's a big choice.